The notification sound had become a form of torture. Nadia Khalil sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, surrounded by wedding magazines she should have burned weeks ago. Her phone buzzed again. Another congratulations message for Omar and Layla's engagement. 6 weeks. That was all it had taken for her fiancé of 3 years to replace her with her best friend since university. Nadia had discovered the truth through a photograph. Someone had tagged her in a picture from Omar's birthday party, one she had missed because of a work deadline. In the background, barely visible but unmistakable, Omar's hand rested on Layla's lower back with an intimacy that told Nadia everything. The confrontation had been ugly. Omar had not even tried to deny it, claiming that Layla understood him in ways Nadia never could. Layla had cried, apologized, then posted engagement photos within the month. Now Nadia sat alone while her social media filled with their happiness. Her cousin Farah had told her to delete the apps, to focus on healing. But Nadia was not interested in healing. She was interested in revenge. She opened her browser and began searching for images. Professional photos, elegant settings, handsome men. She wanted Omar to see that she had moved on too. His betrayal had not destroyed her. One photograph made her pause. The man stood against a backdrop of city lights, his profile sharp and commanding. Dark hair, strong jaw, an intensity in his expression that seemed to reach through the screen. The photo was artistic, clearly professional, but something about it felt genuine, without thinking, without planning. Nadia downloaded the image. She cropped it carefully, added a filter that matched her aesthetic, and typed 4 words that would change her life: "Married my soulmate today." Her finger hovered over the share button for only a moment before pressing down. The response was immediate. Comments flooded in from people she had not spoken to in years. Old classmates expressed shock. Distant relatives demanded details. Even some of Omar's friends liked the post, probably reporting back to him with surprise. Nadia watched the numbers climb with grim satisfaction. Let them wonder. Let Omar see that she was fine, better than fine, married to a man who looked like he belonged in a luxury advertisement. 3 days passed. Nadia was eating breakfast when a message appeared in her inbox. The sender's name was Samir Mansour. His profile bore a blue verification badge. Her coffee went cold as she read his words. "You used my photograph without permission. I suggest we discuss this before my legal team becomes involved. Call this number within the hour." Nadia's hands trembled as she searched his name. Article after article appeared. Samir Mansour, founder of Nexus Innovations, one of the youngest billionaires in the country. Reclusive, private, rarely photographed. The image she had stolen was apparently from a charity event 3 years ago. One of the few times he had allowed himself to be captured on camera. She had announced to the world that she was married to a man worth billions. With shaking fingers, she dialed the number. "Miss Khalil." His voice was deep and measured. "That was faster than I expected, I can explain." Her words tumbled out desperately. "It was stupid and impulsive. I was hurt and angry, and I just wanted to make someone jealous. I never thought anyone would actually recognize you. I will delete everything right now. That will not help." His tone remained calm. "The story has already spread. Several news outlets have picked it up. My board of directors is demanding explanations." Nadia's stomach dropped. "I am so sorry. Please, tell me what I can do to fix this." There was a long pause on the line. When Samir spoke again, his voice held something unexpected. Interest. "As it happens, Miss Khalil, your reckless post might actually solve a problem I have been struggling with for 2 years. My grandfather's will requires that I be married before my 35th birthday. To access my full inheritance and maintain control of the company, that deadline is in 6 months. Nadia blinked, not comprehending. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that you have already convinced the world we are married. Perhaps we should make this arrangement work for both of us. Meet me tomorrow. My driver will collect you at noon. If you agree to my terms, you will not need to worry about legal consequences. You will walk away with something far more valuable." The call ended before Nadia could respond. She sat in the silence of her apartment, staring at the phone screen. The fake wedding post still glowed on her profile, thousands of reactions beneath the stranger's face. What had she done? And more importantly, what was she about to agree to? The car that arrived was sleek and black, the kind that made neighbors stare. Nadia climbed inside, with her heart pounding against her ribs. The driver, a quiet man named Hassan, navigated through the city without speaking. Nadia watched familiar streets give way to exclusive neighborhoods she had only seen in magazines. Eventually, they stopped before iron gates that opened automatically, revealing a mansion that looked more like a small palace. Inside, everything gleamed with understated wealth. Marble floors, modern art, windows that stretched toward impossibly high ceilings. Samir Mansour waited in a sitting room. Seeing him in person stole Nadia's breath. The photograph had not captured his presence, the way he commanded space simply by existing within it. He was taller than she expected, his dark eyes sharp and assessing. "Miss Khalil." He gestured to a chair across from him. "Please." She sat, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "You said you have a proposal? Straight to business?" "I appreciate that." He leaned forward slightly. "My situation is complicated. My grandfather believed that a man without family had no stake in the future. His will requires that I be married too, maintain my position as CEO. The board has been using this clause to undermine my authority for 2 years. My post gave you an accidental solution." "Precisely." "Something that might have been." Amusement flickered in his expression. "I need a wife, at least publicly, for 6 months. You have already announced our marriage to the world. If we maintain this fiction together, I will satisfy the terms of the will, and you will be compensated generously." Nadia's mind raced. "How generously?" "Enough to start your own design firm. I researched you, Miss Khalil. You are talented. You have been working for a company that does not appreciate your skills. This arrangement would give you independence." The number he named made her vision blur. "There would be conditions," Samir continued. "You would live here for the duration? We would attend public events as a couple. The world must believe this marriage is real. And privately. Separate bedrooms. No romantic expectations. This is a business arrangement, nothing more." A woman in a tailored suit entered with documents. Samir's lawyer, apparently, who spent the next hour explaining clauses about confidentiality, public behavior, and grounds for termination. Nadia signed with trembling hands. "One more thing," Samir said as the lawyer departed. "The people who hurt you, your ex-fiancé and his new woman, they will see this. They will believe you have moved on to something extraordinary. Is that not what you wanted?" Nadia thought of Omar's smug face, of Layla's crocodile tears. "Yes," she admitted. "That is exactly what I wanted." Samir nodded slowly, something unreadable in his expression. "Then we understand each other. Your room is prepared. My assistant will help you settle in." That night, Nadia lay in a bed that cost more than her entire apartment, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. She had agreed to pretend to be married to a billionaire for 6 months. It was insane. It was reckless. It was possibly the best decision she had ever made. Somewhere in the vast house, Samir was likely working, planning, calculating his next move. They were strangers bound by a contract, nothing more. But his sleep finally claimed her. Nadia could not shake the memory of his eyes, the way they had studied her with an intensity that felt like being truly seen. 6 months. What could possibly go wrong? 3 weeks into their arrangement, Nadia discovered that pretending to be married was harder than she had expected. It was not the public appearances. Those followed scripts. They rehearsed until the words felt natural. It was not the elegant clothes or the social events or learning which fork to use at formal dinners. It was the quiet moments. Samir worked late most nights, but he had developed a habit of finding her around 10, wherever she had settled to read or sketch. He would bring tea without asking, sit nearby, and they would talk at first. The conversations were careful, polite exchanges about their day, but gradually they deepened. Samir told her about his grandfather, the brilliant inventor who had built an empire from nothing and left behind a will designed to force his workaholic grandson to find balance. Nadia shared stories about her parents, immigrants who had sacrificed everything to give their children opportunities. About her mother's cooking that she missed desperately, about the dream of opening her own design studio that Omar had always dismissed as impractical. He was wrong, Samir said one evening. They sat on the terrace overlooking gardens that stretched into darkness. Your work is exceptional. I saw your portfolio. Nadia felt heat rise to her cheeks. You looked at my portfolio? I research everyone I enter into contracts with. His voice was matter-of-fact, but his eyes held warmth. Your talent was a pleasant surprise. Your practice sessions for public appearances became increasingly complicated. They needed to look like a couple in love, which meant learning each other's rhythms. How to stand close without awkwardness, how to touch casually, naturally. Samir would take her hand while they walked through the house. Nadia would lean against him while they practiced posing for photographs. He learned to place his hand on her lower back with gentle possessiveness. She learned to look at him with softness in her eyes, but the touches that started as rehearsal began to linger. One evening, practicing for an upcoming gala, Samir pulled her close for a mock dance. His hand pressed warm against her back. Her fingers rested on his shoulder, feeling the solid strength beneath his shirt. The music from his phone was soft, classical. They swayed together in his study, and Nadia became acutely aware of his heartbeat against her palm. You are getting better at this, Samir murmured near her ear. You are a patient teacher, he pulled back slightly, looking down at her. In the lamplight, his features seemed softer, more vulnerable than the corporate titan the world knew. Nadia. Her name sounded different in his voice. This arrangement is becoming ... double quotes, complicated, she offered. I was going to say unexpected. His hand rose to her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. Nadia's breath caught. We should not, she whispered, even as she leaned into his touch. No, he agreed, not moving away. We should not. The moment stretched, electric with possibility. Then Samir stepped back, clearing his throat. We have the charity gala tomorrow. We should rest. Nadia nodded, not trusting her voice. But as she walked to her room, she felt his gaze following her, and she knew with terrifying certainty that something between them had shifted. This was no longer just pretend. The ballroom sparkled with crystal and champagne. Nadia moved through the crowd on Samir's arm, wearing a burgundy gown that made her feel powerful. 4 months into their arrangement, they'd attended dozens of events together. But tonight felt different. Tonight, Nadia had learned that Omar and Layla would be present. She spotted them near the bar. Omar looked uncomfortable in his rental tuxedo, while Layla wore a dress too revealing for the formal setting. They were watching Nadia and Samir with naked curiosity and something that looked like envy. Good, Nadia thought. Let them see. The confrontation came during dinner. Layla approached their table while Samir was speaking with a minister. Her smile was sharp, predatory. Nadia, what a surprise. I almost did not recognize you in all this luxury, Layla. Nadia kept her voice pleasant. Congratulations on your engagement, thank you. Layla's eyes swept over the diamonds at Nadia's throat. Though I suppose I should congratulate you, too. Married to a billionaire. Quite the upgrade from Omar. I am not sure I would call it an upgrade. That implies starting from something valuable. Layla's smile faltered. Still bitter? I see. Though I have to wonder how real this all is. You and Samir Mansour, the man who never dates? Suddenly married? Some people find that suspicious. Some people should mind their own business. I have friends in journalism. Layla leaned closer, her voice dropping. If there is a story here, they will find it. And when they do, everyone will see that you are still the same desperate woman Omar left behind. Before Nadia could respond, Samir appeared at her side. His expression was calm, but his eyes were cold. Miss Layla, I believe you are needed elsewhere. Layla straightened, something flickering in her expression. I was just catching up with an old friend. My wife, Samir said quietly, does not appear to be enjoying the conversation. I suggest you leave before security escorts you. Omar hurried over, looking panicked. There is no need for threats. We were just leaving, but Layla was not finished. You cannot silence everyone, Mr. Mansour. The truth comes out eventually. Samir smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Then let me give you a truth to share. When Nadia posted that photograph, I was not upset. I was intrigued. A woman bold enough to claim marriage to a stranger, desperate enough to seek revenge through fiction. I wanted to meet her. The nearby guests had grown quiet, listening. What I found, Samir continued, his hand finding Nadia's, was someone extraordinary. Someone who had been betrayed by people who should have protected her and still chose to rebuild rather than destroy. He turned to Nadia, and what she saw in his eyes made her heart stop. I did not expect to fall in love with her, but I did. I fell in love with her courage, her creativity, her refusal to be diminished by those who hurt her. And I will spend the rest of my life grateful that her reckless post brought her to me. The ballroom was silent. Then someone began to clap. Others joined. Soon the applause surrounded them, drowning out whatever Layla tried to say in response. Samir leaned close to Nadia's ear. Every word was true. Tears blurred her vision. Samir, ... we should discuss this somewhere private. He took her hand. I believe we have given them enough of a show. They left the gala together, leaving Omar and Layla standing in stunned silence behind them. The car ride back to the mansion was silent. But it was a charged silence, full of words neither of them had spoken yet. Samir led Nadia to the terrace, where they had shared so many evening conversations. The city lights glittered below them like scattered diamonds.
I didn't mean it,
Nadia asked quietly. What you said at the gala? Samir turned to face her. Without the mask of the corporate executive, he looked almost vulnerable. Every word. His voice was rough. I've been trying to convince myself that this is still just an arrangement, that what I feel is confusion, proximity, loneliness. But I am not confused, Nadia. I am terrified.
How?
Terrified of what? Of wanting something I cannot control, of feeling something I never expected. He stepped closer. Of losing you when the contract ends. Nadia's heart hammered against her ribs. The contract ends in 2 months. I know. His hand rose to cup her face. And I should let you go. You signed on for a business arrangement, not a relationship with a man who has forgotten how to be human. What if I do not want to go? Hope flickered in his dark eyes. Nadia, ... I came into this wanting revenge. I wanted Omar to see that I had moved on, that his betrayal had not broken me. She placed her hand over his heart, feeling its rapid beat. I never expected to find something real, but I did. I found you. She rose onto her toes, and when their lips met, it was nothing like the careful kisses they had practiced for cameras. This kiss was desperate, tender, full of months of denied longing. Samir's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close as if afraid she might disappear. She tangled her fingers in his hair, feeling years of walls crumble between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Samir pressed his forehead to hers. The contract, he murmured. We should tear it up. And replace it with what? He pulled back, reaching into his jacket pocket. In his palm sat a ring, a delicate band with a diamond that caught the moonlight. Something real. His voice shook slightly. Nadia Khalil, you stumbled into my life with a lie, and somehow you became the most honest thing I have ever known. Will you marry me? Actually marry me? Tears streamed down her face. We are already married according to everyone who matters, and let me make it true. Let me stand beside you before witnesses and promise you forever. Nadia laughed through her tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, then kissed her again with a tenderness that made her soul ache. Epilogue. 1 year later, the wedding was small, intimate, held in the garden of the mansion that had become their home. Only close friends and family attended, including Farah, who cried through the entire ceremony. Nadia wore a simple white dress. Nothing like the elaborate gown she had once planned for her wedding to Omar. This was better. This was real. Samir stood at the altar, looking at her like she was everything he had never known he needed. When they exchanged vows, there was no contract lawyer present, just two people who had found each other through chaos and deception and somehow built something beautiful.